I guess I misspoke. We're going to give a little context to that item as general business 10-6, right? You have, I think we'll get some context for that MnDOT issue. Okay. Any other changes or additions? Okay, hearing none.
We just have had a series of weeks, and Arbor Days was a big success. It's an unusual year, but it was just wonderful. A lot of volunteers were down here for much of the activities.
National Night Out is tonight. There was, thank you to city and county staff that there's a committee that puts that on, and there was lots of involvement of kids this year, which is really fun. There were kids volunteering as well as having fun. And you probably noticed if you've been by the food share, the Community Roots mural, which is multiple grants were granted to make that possible. It's starting to be put into place, and that too has been has happened because of the artist who's in charge of the project, Sue Mundy, engaging a lot of volunteers. So if that sounds like fun, you can still, I think, sign up at the library to volunteer. And the pool, there's only 20 days left. If you haven't been to the pool, you better get there. So it's just been a fast, amazing summer with a lot of the things that we missed last year happening. So thanks to everybody for every effort to make those things happen. And as far as our consent agenda, we have, I'm going to do committee reports. We just had streets and utilities. I'll start with Brian.
Sure, nothing big in utilities. We did talk about the copy machine 2 times ago, but that's in the consent agenda. Just to note, Utilities Commission is going to pick up half the cost of that copy machine because we utilize it so much. Just to get that out there. Last week, I did participate helping with flags of valor to put up.
That's what I missed. Thank you. I'm going to note it right after the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, that was great. A ton of volunteers. I think we had it all done in 2.5 hours. So high school kids and Legion members, and then just community members. So that's a really good thing. We hope to do that every year. So that's it for me.
Super. I'll go to John next report.
Port Authority, Caroline's recap of her summary pretty much spells it all out. Although we did connect with Brian Malm, our city engineer, and he is going to continue to move forward on the dock, the Wabasha Riverfront Revitalization Program, the project on the riverfront. It's going to continue to work with DNR Corps on getting what permitting we may or may not need for that. So we move forward on that part.
Tim, planning.
All we discussed was the IUP and CUP for Urban Arrow restaurant downtown for outdoor seating, which we approved that, and that was all we discussed.
Streets planning.
Evening, everyone. Street Commission, we talked about the alley improvement on the east side of town. I gave them an update on the new truck. I've got pricing for the plow equipment and the truck, and we got to whittle that down. Last week, so Linda is finally going to put up one just coming from downtown. The road closed signs moved from the construction company, and we're going to put a stop sign to help after that's done. So.
Any other good news? Any updates from anybody else's boards or commissions? All right. Back to the consent agenda. Sorry, the administrative report. I don't know. I'm just obsessed with the consent agenda tonight. I think because I wasn't sure if we were going to deal with this midnight issue. So from Caroline, we've had our written report. Anything else you want to summarize for us, Caroline?
Sorry,
Yeah,
I
big
just failed on the IT today, so.
You can't satisfy technology.
Um,
I'm impressed we've been able to do it at all, so.
But yeah, I think, as John said, the thing we're really excited about is we drafted modifications to our USDA revolving loan. If a business is interested in expanding or adding jobs, they could get a deferred loan for 2 years with 0% interest. And we already heard from grandpads who might be interested in expanding their business. And we're not yet really marketing it as much as we could, just because we want to iron out the application. But once we do, I think my goal is to, as we bring on CETA staff, to say, you've got a business in Wabasha or you're in Kellogg and you want to expand, I think that's typically a safer bet because they know their industry, and that we're going to have more success with that strategy than trying to have someone with a brand new business plan. But we have gotten a lot of emails lately about people looking for space, one for a nutrition retail store and the other for handcrafted items. And we just don't have the space right now downtown either. We're working on just looking at a new vendors for ambulance billing and making sure that the current vendor gets caught up on payments. And that was a discussion last month. And basically what happened is somebody on staff got hospitalized, and then they were not billing self-payers. They were collecting the insurance bills, but not billing maybe the balance of those funds or someone that needed to foot the entire ambulance bill. So they've calculated there's, almost $160,000 in bills that need to go out. So while we want to encourage our current company to get caught up, I think we're concerned that a staff issue, which could happen anyways, we're kind of evaluating, does that just mean that we need to find a better company that's prepared to handle a staff member gone and still get their job done? Eagle Center project will be later. And then, Highway 60 project, we've got 1.6 million that the DOT is committed, and Brian is drafting a counter proposal essentially to see if we can get additional funds. And we'll be talking about the budget later this month. And then Wendy is going to cover the Charter Commission later as well.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Those, when individuals call into the city and are looking for properties, do we have a list of available rentals and stuff?
We do not.
No. The reason I ask is because the middle school, which is owned by Jim Smith and Paul Bush, they have 4,000 square feet of rental right now.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay.
And I was wondering if there's some way we can communicate with the owners of these businesses and compile a list of what's available out there.
Yeah. So that's kind of one of the projects I'm thinking for our new economic development specialist would be talking to landowners or business owners and getting an unofficial list, because we've kind of been just saying, well, you just go talk to a realtor. But I wonder if people don't want to talk to a realtor because then it comes with fees and they're just not sure. And so somehow they feel like they start with us for some reason rather than a local realtor. So I think that's a good idea.
But because there are properties out there that are not downtown.
Yeah.
Yep. And an effort is always made. We refer to the middle school building and other properties in particular that we know are available. There's one across the highway and industrial site. Yeah. So the staff and other members of court and Main Street are pretty acquainted with the market. And then if we don't know, we suggest they work with the realtor.
It kind of depends on the project.
Yeah.
We placed 2 people in middle school lately this year. It just really depends on, we had another group that kind of inquired on what opportunities we have, and we felt that that one was better served by going to our realtors, and so recommended going to realtors. No particular order, because they would probably have a better feel for what they were looking for versus what we had. With respect to city-owned property, we have very few that are ready or that are shovel ready, if you will. to be marketed. We're close on a couple. Mosquito Field is always one that we talk about. It is, thanks to Brian's work some time ago, it's off the wetland inventory and everything. We now have sewer and water to it. We're just waiting to get it filled, and that'll be one of the things that the court does when we get to that.
So currently, if somebody wants to come and buy this field as is, they cannot.
Well, if they wanted to, but they'd have to spend quite a bit of money to fill it. It's not really shovel ready.
Well, yeah, I
And
understand.
that's my point.
Are we advertising that?
Because it's really not feasible at this point.
So, I mean, neither was our Dollar General one either. Wasn't feasible until they showed interest in it. And
Yeah. The dollars, the cost of fill was really astronomical when we looked to have it filled. So we determined that it would be best served by filling it with dredge spoils. And then marketing it.
then one time they put that out for sale, and Charlie Richmond is reporting, and we pulled it back.
Yep.
But they were gonna do fill and everything, so.
It was a long time ago, it wasn't even off the web.
A very long time ago, and there wasn't more through there either.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so it's taken a while, all, that's one particular one, we go back to the whole fairground, it's the same. Trying to decide how the best use of that land is. You don't want to sell the middle of it or the side of it when you want to do something, so like a project. So,
Yeah.
that's really about all we have.
We currently don't have anything up for sale.
Nope.
We don't have the garages downtown or,
What?
the downtown, transfer building and all that stuff, and,
No, it's not for sale.
I thought it was. We said we rented out, so somebody came forward, and
We agreed on like 5 years or something. To leave it where it was. Then we did that.
I thought we agreed on that with,
And we just put
somebody
the,
that knows and so forth.
we just put the, food shelf, spent $1,000 on that one.
I understand that, but I guess that's probably why I already know on that. So now we're stuck for 5 years, you know. Very good.
Okay, anything further, Carolyn? I was move to consent, because I'm so excited about consent. Already, okay, so on our consent agenda, which is very straightforward, we are pulling in and out limited use permit, we have our regular council minutes, we have the warrants, we have the Wabasha County Agricultural Fair Association consumption and display permit for weddings and events. And we have the copy machine upgrade, which Brian alluded to, half of that will be covered by utilities. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve.
We have a second.
Yeah, I'll second.
We have a motion from Tim, second from Brian. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Very good. And we do not have a public hearing. Is there something going to go in the space of the public hearing? No, we're good. Under general business, we have some more progress on the Wabasha Fire Hall ambulance feasibility study quote. I'm guessing Tony's going to help us with that.
So I received back the price that they gave us with the contract to do the work that we asked. And I guess if we can find out how to pay for that money, it'd be a good step to help steer us in the right direction.
And this work was satisfied your needs, explains what, do you feel you got
I think
teed up
so,
with the
yeah.
scope is sufficient to your interest?
Yeah, we met with them, a group of us, Caroline, ambulance director, fire chief, and myself, went through and explained to them what our dilemma was and the problems that we're facing, and that was kind of what they come up with is exactly what we need. But I did talk to the city engineer too, because I was gonna get 2 of these, and he said that he would have to contract that out to another firm. So he said, if you've dealt with these before, you know, with this company, he said, just stick with them. He said, if you're happy with what they did in the past, and the library worked out and the public works building addition worked out. So that's kind of the route we'd like to go.
And any conversation with staff regarding the fire department budget or?
No, Darren didn't really say, he doesn't have too big of a budget. I would say it's gonna be either CIP or general fund, but I'm not.
Any questions for Tony?
Yeah, if it's approved tonight, we will probably end up reviewing the budget, but it might, come out of the CIP. I know there's funds available there.
And this is not such a big, it's not such a big number to really mess with that too much, but.
So this is gonna, what this will do for you is kind of get you a cost estimate of what it would take to utilize those two buildings going forward.
Yep, either what we told them is we would like to find out about combining or just adding on to the fire hall.
Right, the two options.
Yeah, and so anything beyond that, I think we'll, we're gonna know at some point, what's your cutoff number? So that's the only thing we'll have to decide is when we get to that point, is it worth us sticking so much money into the fire hall or a little bit more money into both of them, or say, well, this is outrageous, maybe we look at doing something different down the road.
And can this money come out of the CIP?
If you approve it, it can, I'll look into it. I'll make sure that that's but it wasn't included in the 5-year plan, but there's other surprise projects that have come up. So it is related to the long-term plan that we approved in the 5-year plan. So
I just don't know how to get from point A to point B
Without this work.
we're gonna try and make a decision.
You can't make a decision without this information.
No,
Yes.
yeah, I'm hoping that they come back and say, hey, this is what we have, and then we can look at that.
A clear picture for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, even if we do this, and they come out back with price and stuff, and it's too high, we could always push that out 5 years or whatever, and start planning for it. And if we don't do it, we're gonna know. I'll make a motion to, 6,500, as well, out of the CIP.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll move. Second.
Second. Well, Craig, do we have any discussion further? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Thanks, I hope it's very productive and
Yeah, I think we'll work with them, give them whatever they need. I had the insurance rep down to look at the roof ambulance today, and he offered to give us like $1,500.
$1,500. You know why there's no record of it? That's your.
Well, he was wondering, and I didn't know. Oh, yeah, he said, I think it's due for replacement.
all right, now we have discussion on pet licenses. As you can see in the agenda, this was discussed in the past. Previously in 2015, the $10 license had been required for spayed and $15 for non-spayed animals. And so we wanted to bring this up to think about reintroducing this for revenue. When it was eliminated in 2015, the one of the rationale was that it wasn't happening, but it was also not generating revenue. It was more burdensome in staff time than it was productive. Yeah, Dean, go ahead.
I'm not really sure if it's so much revenue as it is public health. Currently, we have dogs out there running with no rabies vaccines or nothing. If you go back to the minutes of 2015, 10/6/2015, it says in keeping with other cities. So I was just curious about that, other cities. So I looked at Plainview, they require it. Lake City requires it. Kellogg requires it. Winona requires it. Goodyear requires it. Redmond requires it. St. Charles requires it. Byron requires it. Elma, Pepin, Nelson, Durant, Mondovi, Arcadia, Redmond. We're the only city that does not require pet licenses. The tags and so forth. Now there's all sorts of different cost variables out there. There's $10, $50. Byron does $25 for a lifetime of the pet. What happened to me was this summer, down at Beach Park, and I had a guy from 10th Street with his dog come up to me and jumped on my lap, which I didn't really care for, but I said, "Is your dog vaccinated?" and so forth. And he's like, "No, I didn't know they have to be." We currently have an ordinance that unless you move to Wabasha and decide to read the ordinance, you're not going to know that we have, you have to have your pets vaccinated and so forth and so on. So I've looked at all the communities around us, and they do have it. A couple communities use a pet data company to do all their stuff. It's petdata.com, and they do it for the cities. I don't know what the cost there is, but last time we had this in 2015, we raised $1,100. That's over 100 individuals that took it upon themselves to get their dogs tags and so forth. So I think it's important that we reinitiate this, figure out what the cost will be, and not so much for revenue, because I understand it's not there, but although revenue is hard, and it pays for $500 of dog bags, so be it. It's still coming out of taxpayers' pocket somewhere. So that's my spiel on this. Is I think we should look at it and look at reintroducing this, because we have a lot of people out there that don't care whether their dogs are vaccinated or anything. I know two personally.
You're talking dogs and cats?
And cats. All of them are dogs and cats.
I guess my concern on this is I think it's a burden on our staff. I think it's a burden on the residents. I don't think it's truly needed. It's a burden on police to enforce it.
Well, they still have to enforce it.
Well, I mean, but the way they're gonna do is drive around town and inspect every animal they see.
Well,
I just think it's a waste of
All right,
time
well,
and
if that's the
energy and
case,
money.
then let's get rid of the chicken license. Let's get rid of the noise on take breaks on the bridge. Let's get rid of all kinds of stuff. If we're gonna go that route, then we might as well get rid of all kinds of stuff.
I looked at the Minnesota Department of Health statistics on rabies in Wabasha County for the past 3 years where they had records. There's been absolutely 0 cases in dogs, 0 cases in cats, 0 cases in bats, and 0 cases in raccoons. So it's a non-issue of rabies concerns.
Well,
In my opinion. So I mean, this is too much of a burden on the staff.
Well, it's funny how we were able to do this for almost 50 years without being burned. But in here it doesn't
Well,
say
you
that.
said only 100 people. There's more than 100 dogs in Wabasha. What's the compliance rate?
Yeah, it'd be nice if people were responsible for their animals.
So I guess the jump to the door to door.
But
you know,
yet-
to check your
Yet
dogs.
we provide poop bags and poop stations for dogs. Why are we doing that? Because we don't want poop all over the place, right? All right. So what?
Yeah.
So you want distemper and you want rabies.
There's been no rabies in
Well,
Wabasha County. So
Maybe we're lucky at that.
You know,
So there's been no rabies in feral cats in town.
we're gonna buy the licenses for the feral cats.
We aren't going to.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, you're saying there's definitely no rabies in this town. So, but anyway, it's up to you guys to decide what you want to do. But I think it says something when every other community around us does it, except for us. And yet the
Well,
police
it
department
might say
still,
that they haven't, what it might say is that they haven't evaluated the issue in recent years, but a lot of large communities have eliminated theirs. So I was, looking at
North Minneapolis,
Burnsville,
St. Paul.
Crystal, Mound, they have pointed out sort of what you're pointing out. There are 8,000 households and only a few hundred residents in Crystal have licenses. So you can do math, non-compliance is the issue. I don't even know what enforcement would really look like. Aside from a dog that comes into town, I don't know what else enforcement would be. So how many dogs are in town?
Well, even when they're in town, you enforce that order? You get a hold of the vet and say, hey, this dog has rabies shots, and, yeah, why do we even have the ordinance? We're not enforcing anything.
I mean, if the dog is involved in an incident where that knowledge is necessary, then obviously we follow through with that. That was the only time
But this is sold to us that it was, the communities around us and so forth, and I don't think that was correct, and, I just don't understand why we even have an ordinance that we're not gonna enforce or anything. So, and there's numerous other things out there that we don't enforce.
So I think the reason why there's an ordinance for rabies is because that,
Well, I know
that
why
applies as an
I know why there's an ordinance for
Right.
rabies,
Right, so, and if your dog,
but the argument that says that we're not gonna enforce it is, hard on our staff and so forth.
But the license doesn't make the enforcement easier.
yeah, that's not gonna change
And it
that.
doesn't make the compliance, it sounds like it doesn't make compliance better.
Well, you guys do what you wanna do, that's what I'm here for. And, so I'll make a motion that we, look at our ordinance and see what can be done and get public feedback. So,
Okay, we have a motion to reevaluate the ordinance versus address the fees.
So is this the dog and cat licensing ordinance?
yes,
Not the rabies
that
ordinance?
was, retracted back in 2015. Rabies, everything. That's my motion.
So to take a look at that ordinance in a future meeting. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
At least now the community knows where we stand. So,
We lack a second. Certainly welcome any other comments.
all right,
Okay,
so that tells the community that they don't have to vaccinate their dog. Got it.
No, it doesn't.
No,
Just
it does.
well,
There
no,
is,
it's that there's no license for them to pay for, and
Exactly.
and there's no reason to follow the ordinance, but we have no way of.
remember, pet owners have a lot of reasons to vaccinate their pets. First of all, it's their pet. Second, these are often in their household around their children and family, and you can't lodge your pet without it being licensed, and, vets are, so we aren't the impetus really for people like vaccinating their animals.
Then.
The question is whether we want to have a license
ordinance, we have a requirement for that license or not. So, no. If you're talking about public safety, that's it. If we wanted to ignore that ordinance, then that'd be something.
That'd be different, yeah.
So that's kind of where I see that, so.
All right, general business, item 10.3, we have Caroline and staff would like some input from council members on family versus police union negotiations. Do you want to give us any context for that, or just solicit people's willingness to participate?
Well, I think historically, I think Jeff and Brian participated in that, but also Jane Glander participated, and then and just kind of rechecking in with our attorneys on the process. Those parameters could be set in a public meeting with a closed session, or it could be this ad hoc group with special appointments. And so I am thinking that because this will have budget impact, it's important for me to get input. However, they did say it's just broad parameters, that I will serve as the negotiator specifically, and then you may accompany, or but the appointees could accompany the meetings, but then we could do an ad hoc meeting to just set those parameters. So that process was laid out by Flaherty and Hood for me. And so I think that it makes sense to do it in just an ad hoc meeting versus a big meeting in closed session. And then I would like, if these council members were open to this, have them preview the budget in advance of the budget workshop, so that as I'm preparing analysis or options, then they can provide input, so we have a really productive August 24th meeting. But
I know.
You can't.
Oh, okay.
I think it was Jeff and Chad and James.
Okay, and it could just be, I think it could be up to 2, but no more than 2.
Another one person.
Are you up for it?
Yeah, I'm doing
Well, then I'll second it if they're willing. I'm fine with it. If they're happy to do it, they can, well, certainly can do it.
Discussion and after, and a second from Tim, do we have any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Remember that one, the next one.
So we have the,
I'll be out of town.
as was forecasted in a prior meeting, we're going to sink our teeth into the process that we involved in instituting a charter commission. So I'll outline them. As you can see in the agenda packet, city attorney has provided a couple of pragmatic questions we want to consider. Is we good on that path?
So good evening. Pretty much, I've been in contact with Mike Flaherty about the whole commission process for the charter commission. There's 3 areas that the council needs to discuss and determine either tonight or moving forward in the next meeting. So per statute, there can be no less than 7 and no more than 15 members that can be appointed to this commission. Mike Flaherty, we've looked at his normal rate for the process behind it. He would draft resolutions that need to go to the state, the proposed order, and then oath of office once the council decides who the members will be or how the selection process will happen. So the one thing that Mike Flaherty wanted to know was that once the charter commission is formed, council will not have the authority over the charter commission. We will run as an independent group. So that is a little background on that. He did provide a couple of links and you guys look at them in regards to the charter commission's my agenda item. I think he wanted to know whether or not you wanted to accept applications, if you go that way, or if you were going to nominate certain people or reach out to certain people that you felt would best suit the commission. It's not against the commission to have council members present on that commission as well. So.
Right, the only role or employment that's excluded, that would exclude some from participation is a judicial role.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I was just going to add, the thing worth noting is just to get it set up and follow everything. I think we were quoted $1,500, 10 hours at $150 an hour. And then after it was set up, however we choose to engage them as they come up with proposals would be additional funds. We are, because of the Eagle Center costs, over budget on legal services this year, but we do anticipate some of those getting reimbursed later on, but I haven't done an analysis on kind of $1,500, but.
On number 3, I would suggest, I'd like to see each council person just throw 2 names out and do it that way. I think it's pretty safe bet to say that you guys can make good decisions for that. On me, the other hand, not so much.
I would assume we would do that, and that there's not going to be a line out the door of people wanting to do this, because it's a lot of work, but I would also be open to application. I noted that Northfield and Hastings, I think that's appropriate, that we welcome the application. You never know who's out there who might be highly qualified, who served in a clerk role in our prior city, and we have people like that in our community, or fulfill the council role somewhere else, and might bring good contacts. So I'd be wanting us to encourage people and think of people, but also urge that we have application. As far as numbers, 7, why make it impossible? That looked like that's all that they were able to muster in cities 10 times our size. In fact, it looked like one of them really only has 5 members, and that can happen, so even though statute requires 7. It's still not clear to me exactly what the process is, so like what the process would be to review application or review nominated candidates. Is that part of what Mike would assist with, or?
He will.
He will, okay.
Could you clarify the requirements to be on this commission again? Because I'm pretty sure I read somewhere in some city charter that no one on any board or commission in the city can be on charter commission. I think maybe it was Lake City or somewhere that had actually defined the charter commission, membership requirements.
They must have defined it that way.
Yeah, I was gonna say
they
that's
must have
probably on
defined
our own. I don't think that ours states that, but for
No, ours,
statute.
ours is the same.
Yeah, for statute,
it. They must be a voter,
yeah,
and they must not hold a judicial appointment.
valid voter and, like, that would mean that you guys wouldn't be able to sit on board.
I can't understand how it would work unless you had a surplus of former council members or commissioners or mayors who were available. We have one former mayor in our, who's registered to vote in our community.
Right.
So I would imagine there would be some representation, someone who's on a current commissioner or council, and I think that would be healthy.
I'd like to try the application process first. If that doesn't work, then get a couple people,
Right.
Do we may need to appoint it, and we'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
right.
Yeah.
We can advertise for that.
Yeah, I think in talking to Mike, in talking to his colleagues, he saw a couple of charter commissions go rogue. So, just kind of coming up with crazy ideas that were hard to implement. But I think I would recommend some council representation personally, if that's an option, just to make sure that we have a couple votes on it.
My question would be staff, and maybe Mike has insight into that. I'm guessing a lot of staff is the clerk, or, all the commissions that were referenced have staff, so maybe that's going to be necessary. And I don't know how that fits into our, model, but I think that would be really important. And then I thought it was promising that one of the cities, Hastings or Northfield, were meeting annually. I think the idea of this group, and they would have to meet more frequently initially, but to expect a commitment that's significant, I think would diminish the likelihood of participation.
Lake City does that too.
Annually.
Well, in reading the charter, there's a whole lot of language that just needs to be corrected. So I would think hopefully
It could be some simple, some.
something just to make it a little more readable.
And
It's
don't-
more
don't
of
they-
a process, I think, that is. It takes more than what you think. Having to go through the district court to allow for you to appoint, you don't have any current members of the commission, which is kind of different anyways. So it's like we're starting fresh. Right.
Do they have to give public input, the charter commission? I thought I had seen that where they have to hold
Public meetings,
public meetings, get feedback, but public
that's
ones.
probably been part of that process. Flirty was gonna lay it out for us once we decided how we were gonna go through the application process.
Yeah, can we get this laid out more? How much is it actually gonna cost? As well as, what's the time frame do we want? No, I mean, what's the time frame we looking at? 5 years to get it done? 10 years? All right,
So like a year.
A year, I think so.
is what I was-
a year to get it done, to revise it, or longer than that? Thing, but I would like to set a goal of getting it done in a year.
Well, it has to be voted on in the general election. So we either have 2022 or 2024. So, but like I said, copy and paste from Lake City.
Exactly. That's the-
I've been reviewing our charter and all that.
I mean,
I have to imagine so much of it has to be
Statute.
statute anyway,
It
right?
has to become.
Yeah, unless you want to be a little bit different than the statute.
Which
but
I argue you'd have to have a real good reason to want to do that.
I would agree,
One of the
but
issues where our
you never
charter
know.
is anyway different than the statute. very deliberate about where we deviated from statute. I think.
So, well, like this, some kind of application, it's not gonna be like an employment application.
It's on our boards and commissions.
Oh,
I
okay,
think we have the charter commission.
okay,
If we don't, we can add a line.
very good.
Put some time frame on it too, like say, if we want some applications by this date or something.
I noticed the cities that were referenced indicated the terms and the term limits. Is that statute? Is that in statute? That I think they were-
It did, and then
Four-year terms.
initially when you first started out, they stagger them, so I think they're 4-year terms.
4 years, no.
And then
more
the
than two.
first one is 2 years, and then a couple of them are 2 years,
Okay.
and then 4, so that you don't lose your chair commission at the
Mhm.
same time.
Well, this is progress, and it's good to kind of have a little bit more of the nuts and bolts in front of us. And so,
The other thing is, did we take a vote on it? Because that was Mike's question, just wanting to make sure, are you sure you want to do this? As of the current stance,
He keeps
do you
asking
still
that.
want, do you still want more detail?
What are we missing?
You want more of the process, leave that before you move further, or accept the application?
I would certainly say there's no rush in this, because I really feel we should budget for it. And so, we would have through this year to better educate ourselves on the process. I don't think anybody's against it, but I don't think we want to go in blind and then wish we'd asked more questions. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, start thinking about who would be good and who, is worthy of being encouraged to apply once we get to that point. Because that's difficult. It's a big job. All right.
So could you just summarize what the steps are that you want staff to take? Do we want to open up an application as a next step?
No, I don't think so yet. I think that'd be premature at this point. As long as that isn't any big lift, that sounds like.
I think I would like the process laid out a little bit more, 7 people, what's the process for the application? What's the,
Unless people, counter this, I think we would be comfortable answering this question as 7 members. Who will the council appoint? We will take application and encourage,
Take applications and appoint.
And how will council go about determining who the members will be? I need to understand what our authority is there. I mean, we just decide that in a public meeting, we take application,
Yeah, I mean,
filter it down to a,
I like to see more of a bullet point from Mike on
yeah.
what the steps are to get this done.
Maybe explain to the public why we want to change the charter, just say, hey, these are some of the inconsistencies we have in the charter now in 2021, 1987.
35 years.
Yeah.
Of maintenance.
So
Never been touched.
what are people's thoughts then as a kind of a next step on a staff memo with this information and then potentially a resolution to move forward, and then you can take some formal action on it
Yeah. And a budgetary discussion.
and the budget, yeah.
That satisfy everybody? Okay. All right. So. Our donations.
I think you're.
Oh, yes, we did. Yes, we did. And actually this 10.5 was riprap and then 10.6 is mid-net. So Dean, 10.5 riprap.
Yeah, I was approached by some citizens. In 20 was it, can you come up? 20 was it 2019 that we did the riprap project on?
2018 or 2019.
2018. We did a riprap project on North Boulevard, and 20 of those guys were able to stretch it further than they anticipated. There's a small stretch that wasn't done yet, and that's between Bridge and Bridge Avenue and the bridge itself. So there's a very small strip that needs to be done yet. And right now, if you look at it, it's a straight drop about 8 feet. And so I have a letter here from 9 residents saying, as you begin the budget for 2022, we ask that you include money for riprap on Lawrence Boulevard, specifically in Bridge Avenue and Walnut Avenue. It would be a continuation of the project you completed 3 years ago from Arch Avenue to Bridge Avenue. And so I just wanted to bring that stuff for discussion and see if we can get that in this year's budget. it was 20,000 that we guys budgeted.
That's what we spent the last time.
Yeah, and that's stretched out for almost an entire block. So I think we can probably get this done pretty inexpensive. But anyway, I want to just start a discussion on this and see if we can get it in the budget this year. We can always take it back out and put it in for next year if need be. Tony, how hard would it be for you to get prices on that?
It wouldn't be that, I mean, I could get something.
Do we need it?
Well, it's the only section of upriver from the Eagle Center that hasn't been done. And Dean's right, it is, you
Getting
know,
washed out.
it's getting washed out slowly. I mean, riprap, we know doesn't last forever either, but it's working really well upstream. And you get the bank cleaned up at the same time. It looks a lot better than what's there.
You're gonna leave the old township road that goes down to the water there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we actually want beyond that.
Yeah, we went past that a little bit, and I like having, I think people like having it there because they can get down.
Yeah.
But,
What's the distance you gotta go? Far to go?
I would say probably 50 feet.
That's it.
well, you got one block, so it's about 300.
I was gonna say,
It's a solid block.
bridge to Walnut.
Yeah, bridge, pretty close.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's about what we did last time.
Somewhere in there.
But is this part's deeper?
That I don't know. I'd have to, yeah, we'd have to go down and measure it out like we did last time.
I mean, all I'm asking is for him to get a price, and then we can get in this year's budget, so be it if we can. At least we know there's an issue and get it in next year's budget. So
Make a motion to direct me to get the pricing for.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Motion from Dean, second from John. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Dean. And then Minda, I'm glad this got pulled. I was gonna ask for some clarification and context before our meeting. Do you want to let us know what's the hesitation on Brian Malm's part?
Yeah, Brian looked at this and he said we should follow up with the meeting with MnDOT with a couple concerns that he saw. And Tony, I don't know if you had anything to add, but one of the concerns that he saw in there is that it says that if they deem necessary for them to make ADA improvements, that we would have to pay for it. And he thinks it's likely that this does not meet ADA standards. And then there was one other change in there that I can't remember that was not in our former agreement that's been changed that might have just kind of a negative impact where they're adding more responsibility or cost. So, yeah, Tony?
Yeah, we've done some improvements on the bridge at Heritage Park, and I just want to make sure that, because their drawings didn't match what's there now. And then they were talking about a sound wall, which I think is out of the old contract along that field. That kind of threw me for a loop, so we gotta figure that out, if that's old language or what, so.
One of my concerns was, in the original contract, it said that if we do asphalt replacement in the parking lots, that they would pay for a portion of that.
Mm-hmm.
And the new one, it doesn't say that.
I think that's another one that's
Yeah.
the one that's, okay.
I also want to know about expanding that parking lot and going to the river, and we'll gain 10, at least 10 parking stalls. So, and it doesn't, I couldn't tell. And that highlighted part, that was included in that agreement, that piece.
It looked like it was, from what I saw.
It's such an imprecise diagram. It's hard to
Well, there's so many different, yeah, there were so many different,
line weights.
yeah, it was hard to understand. I thought it was in there. You're talking about where the fence was?
Yeah.
And the metal fence for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's in there, but there's no language that says that we can do anything.
Right.
So, and, I mean, I understand they probably don't want us to go under that pillar to access that area, but we can always access it from Lawrence Boulevard somehow. So, and like you said, it's 10 more parking spots.
I think it's at least 10 in there, so
Yeah.
which would be helpful.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
So we're gonna meet with them and we're not gonna vote on
Take
this.
action.
Yeah.
But that just gives everybody some context. wasn't, maybe available to us when the agenda packet came out.
And I would really, ask that you bring up that parking of that additional green spot down there, that grassy area.
Yeah, I had brought that up for just kind of personally, I was just thinking, could it be a park space? I guess I understood there was a parking study in Wabasha. We brought up parking, and I thought the parking said that we need more directional signage to where parking was, not necessarily that we needed more, but I'm looking at you all because you read the study. So as we had conversations about the downtown and everything and what's needed, like public restroom has come up. I don't know if I put it there, but I did ask the DOT. They want to retain ownership, but we could petition to do a lease and do any type of project, parking, playground, public restroom. So I'm just kind of was keeping it on the table for all these downtown planning discussions that we're hoping to do. So I don't know your thoughts, or if you feel really strongly, if you do anything, it has to be parking. But
So,
yeah.
so you'll, with us agreement, we're
Yeah.
just gonna move forward on.
I followed up with them that if we have an idea for this area, could we do it? And they essentially said, yeah, we would entertain an agreement. We just need to make sure we can access it to fix the ground.
All right. The public restroom, I'm thinking out loud, the public restroom idea, having just been down under the bridge and volunteered for Riverboat Days, I had a lot of requests for a public restroom right there under that bridge that does serve a significant volume of activity. And there are public bikes, and it's right by the river, and it's centrally, sort of centrally located to our main street. So I had never thought about that before, but yeah, anyway. We have, again, before us, many generous donations. We have a resolution to accept them to the library. We have $25 in memory of Diane Ponton by Rick Ponton, $150 from Binner Drywall, $1,000 from the Rotary Club of Wabasha for the summer reading program, $800 from the Wabasha Main Street program for Art in the Park, to the fire department, tables and chairs for the chicken feed, which was a $300 value. For fireworks, we have $100 from Fleet Check Insurance, $200 from John and Nancy Utah, and $100 from Bob and Diane Shield. And we thank both individuals and families for those donations, businesses for those donations. We have a resolution to accept them.
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Tim, a second from Jen. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Any further announcements? Oh, we were going to discuss a date for this workshop. And,
Yep, we got the workshop identified, the budget workshop, and then for the Eagle Center leases workshop, based on feedback that I got from Brian ahead of the meeting, I'm wondering if Monday, August 16th could work for people and we could do it after 5 p.m.
Works for me.
All right,
I'm not sure about me, I'll have to look at that.
Five.
I'll get back to you.
okay.
Yeah, works for me.
But that's the goal, is the earliest.
Okay, we'll tentatively select 8/16 at 5 p.m. And the leases are then going to be coming to you next week. And I think Craig had requested a memo. I don't know if Mike will have that in time. But then the goal of the workshop is to answer all the questions about the details of those leases, because it's lots and lots of pages. And then schedule it for a vote. And theoretically, if we get all the questions answered, we could even schedule it for a vote at the budget workshop. I just didn't want to do a major discussion at the budget workshop to keep us focused on the budget workshop. We can't, okay, she's correct. But we could do like a special meeting,
But it's just city
conclude,
council, which is just 2 weeks later.
or wait till city council. Maybe that's better. Okay.
So everybody comfortable with that? We'll have Eagle Center representation present to articulate, questions that can't be answered by our attorney and go from there. All right. Any other announcements? We have a motion to, Tony, please, yeah.
Cameron, did you pass off that thing from the court about that empty Mississippi fund?
Oh, thank you. How could I forget this?
I just-
It's been posted on
It's on our
Facebook.
website,
Yeah, so it's worth mentioning, yeah.
Mhm.
So the MV Mississippi, which is a very large vessel, belongs to the Army Corps of Engineers, is, we hope, going to be here on the 13th of August. The details are on the city's webpage. It's a public open house of that vessel. And there will be a meeting of the local group that's been working on the 217 agreement, but mostly it's just an opportunity to see that vessel and for the community to understand how it works. And I unfortunately can't be there on the 13th, but I'll be going on the 16th for a panel discussion with some, I guess, presidentially appointed members of the Mississippi River Commission. So I'll be interested to learn more. I'm sure I won't contribute much to that discussion, but I will learn a lot. So I'll be
There's a dining hall on that boat.
It's the largest towboat in the upper Mississippi or on the Mississippi.
It's not a towboat, really.
So that's exciting.
Got 4 decks.
Should, and I forwarded that on to the press. I forwarded that to our local paper and also to Brian Todd, the Post Coalition. That's pretty exciting. So if you can be there, that should be interesting and kind of thrilled to see that work. Anything further? All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Dean, for the second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Second.
I have something for you, Joe. And